Good morning or afternoon or evening, depending on what time you watch this. This is the MTG Dudes. My name is Ned,
This is Joe.
and today we're going to talk about cards or combination of cards that we have used to break the game of Magic.
That means that we pretty much have just overtaken the game and the game has taken over from that point on. So we're going to jump right into it. Make sure you guys at the end of the video gives us a like, share, subscribe, give us a thumbs up. That's a big thumb.
You
And
are somebody, and now gravity is happening.
gravity always wins. So now we got to go back to where we was. Technical difficulties. All right, we're going to start with an honorary mention for it. Ned, I'm going to let you start with this one, which is going to be that.
Conflux. It's a heavy mana cost, 3 colorless, white, blue, black, red, and green. Search your library for a white card, a blue card, a black card, a red card, and a green card. Reveal them, put them into hand, and then shuffle your library. Now, if you have infinite mana or some other means like omniscience to cast all of these things, it essentially can end the game because you can use some or most of those cards to get back Conflux or some other thing that'll let you replay Conflux over and over again. And I put this deck in an Angel tribal, and I essentially cast my whole deck with Conflux and Omniscience. And once they see Conflux played, it's pretty much a submission at that point. They don't want me to go through all the motions of casting my whole deck, and they'll just concede the point right on the spot.
Nasty, nasty business. Very nice card. I actually put that in a deck after I've seen your deck do it on multiple occasions. So yeah, it's a very nice card and a very mean one. Um, my only honorable mention is going to be Deadeye Navigator, and the reason why I'm mentioning this one is because you're going to see this one throughout this video, and he has become almost a staple for anything I play in blue because he is part of an infinite combo and of all kinds of sorts. Um, but he's a very, very utility type player or card, and he's 4 and 2 green. He's soul bond, so you may pair this with a creature of another unpaired creature. When either enters the battlefield, they remain paired for as long as you control both of them. As long as Deadeye Navigator is paired with another creature, each of those creatures has colorless and a blue. Exile this creature, then return to the battlefield under your control. Now, there's a combo where you can use him to make infinite combo of mana, and then you can use him to do all kinds of different tricks. And he is a key to a lot of decks. He's almost like a golden morsel for any deck that you put him in because he can do so much utility.
Yeah, the other thing that this will let you do if you have enter the battlefield triggers, this guy keeps hitting the battlefield, so you will gain life or do whatever those cards do when they see a creature hit the battlefield. It's a fantastic and sometimes mind numbing thing because it does go infinite if unless the opponent has a way to stop you.
But like I said, it's going to be used in a multiple of combos. It's definitely a combo piece, and it is just a deadly card once it's being utilized at its full potential. So, your first one you're going to mention as far as game breaking is more of a deck type. I'm only going to show one card of it, but I'll let you go and really talk about it because it is a really in depth 60 card deck. So, I'll let you go at it.
Okay. The mirror is a tribe of creatures, and what you can do, there's one called the Mirror Galvanizer and another one called the Palladium Mirror. You tap the Palladium Mirror, it gives you two colorless mana. You use one of those colorless, tap the Mirror Galvanizer, and he'll untap every other mirror on the battlefield. So if you have a means of copying the Galvanizer, or if you're playing in one of the 60 card formats, you're allowed to have more than one in your deck. That's infinite mana. And then you can go a lot of different ways with that because there's a mirror for that you can tap for any color of mana. That's the alloy mirror, and there are also individual mirrors that'll give you a mana of any color. So you can do card drawing, you can do life gaining, you can do damage spells. It's just an incredibly neat and scary thing. What I have done in my deck is I generate the infinite mana and use it to make tokens with the I think it's the Mirror Matrix. You pay 5 colorless,
Mm-hmm.
and it gives you a 1/1 mirror token. And then I attack with the Battle Sphere. Mirror Battle Sphere, when you declare your attackers, you may tap X untapped mirror. The Battle Sphere will get plus X plus 0 until end of turn and deal X damage to target player or planeswalker it's attacking. So it doesn't even have to get through when you declare the attackers. You just send him, tap X of your boys, and it's going to automatically do X damage to whatever it's attacking. It's frightening, and when it goes, it wins the game on the spot.
I know, even when you're not playing that deck, I know I've thrown that in to several decks, and I mean he's just a nasty creature. And the other nice thing is when you play him, when he enters the battlefield, you also create 4 1/1 colors mirror artifact creature tokens on top of that. So you already start off with 4 mirror tokens just with him coming into play. So he does a lot of stuff, and he is just a nasty creature. So then we're going to get to my first, I guess, combo. It's a 3-card combo, and again, technical difficulties. It's a really out of balance thing here. But it starts off with this card. You got to have him on the battlefield. He is a Laboratory Maniac, 2 and a blue, 2/2 creature, so he's not huge. But if you would draw a card while your library has no cards in it, you win the game. Again, he's a nice combo piece with Deadeye Navigator, but that's not what we're going for. What I'm looking at is you have to. It's a 3-card combo. You have to have them all in play at the same time. But Ominous Seas. Whenever you draw a card, put a foreshadow counter on it, and then remove 8 foreshadow counters from it to create an 8/8 blue Kraken creature token. You can also cycle it for 2, but I don't suggest doing that with this card because, yeah, people can remove it. It's kind of a pain in the butt when they do. But if they don't, and you have enough threats that you can't avoid looking at this one, it's a combo where it can be really, really good. So obviously right there is part of a card draw, but the part that goes with it is this card. I know I've talked about it in another video, but Greater Good. 2 and 2 green, sacrifice a creature, draw cards equal to the sacrifice creature's power, then discard 3 cards. The 3-card combo is you have Ominous Seas. You get to your 8th card, you get an 8/8 blue Kraken creature token. You use the Greater Good to sacrifice a creature token, draw 5 cards, and then you discard 3. So in the process, you're drawing 8 cards out of your deck. You discard 3. With those 8 cards you just drew, you get another Ominous Seas. You'd sacrifice another Kraken, get another 8 cards, and you keep doing that till you're out of cards. When you can't draw anymore, the Laboratory Maniac gives you an automatic win. I mean, it's not exactly, I don't know if you'd call it game breaking, but it's an automatic game winning.
And it is an elegant combo because most people don't see it coming, or if they do see it coming, it's tough to break the cycle because blue has so many counter spells and green has graveyard recursion.
I know I was playing a deck that has this combo in it, and I had the Greater Good and Ominous Seas down, and I had another card. I think it was Agent of Treachery I was throwing down. They countered that, so that was their counter spell. And then that on that turn when they countered my Agent Treachery, I got that to go because I was on my 8th card. And so I did the Ominous Seas and I started doing it, and there was nothing they can do. And I was playing 4-player game, and I threw down the Lab Man. Somebody went to counter that. I countered that with my card, and then I finished my counter and pretty much got an automatic win. So yeah, it is definitely a card that can come out of nowhere. And the Laboratory Maniac, I did not play until I got to my last creature down. I played the Laboratory Maniac. He countered. I countered the counter, and at that point, I then did my last creature, which was I only had 4 cards left, so I drew 4, and that was game right there. It was a beautiful win. The guy was almost confident he had me, and yeah, that wasn't out of the nowhere thing. The next combo, or the next game breaker, is this bad boy.
Blightsteel Colossus. 12 mana, trample, infect. Blightsteel Colossus is indestructible. If Blightsteel Colossus would be put into a graveyard from anywhere, reveal Blightsteel Colossus and shuffle it into the owner's library instead. Trample and Infect is such a beautiful thing because it only takes 10 poison counters to win the game. And because he's so large, some of that is going to get through. And he's indestructible. And if they do have a means of removing him, that's fine. You'll just shuffle him back into your deck anyway. I actually managed to drop this guy on turn 3, and it was a concession on the spot. Because first turn I did a land, Soul Ring, and Arcane Signet. Second turn, I tapped all of that to throw down Elvish Piper. And then the third turn, I paid 1 green, tapped the Elvish Piper, and threw down Blightsteel Colossus. Again, it was immediate concession because he had no means of handling it that early in the game. And yeah, he can definitely break the game for you, even if he doesn't come out that early, because most people can't handle an 11 with trample.
It's not only that, but in a game of Magic, you get 10 poison counters. That's game right there. So, yeah, there's a lot of ways he is just a beast of a card. The next one I'm going to talk about, again, is a 2-card combo. I did it in a 60 card. It's easier doing a 60 card. I've had a game where I've had multiple mirror marches. And what that does is whenever a non-token creature enters the battlefield under my control, flip a coin. Until you lose a flip, for each flip you won, create a token that's a copy of that creature. Those tokens gain haste, exiling them at the beginning of the end step. Now, I have had a game, keep in mind this is one game, but I had 3 of these on the battlefield. And I was taking my time because they were playing, I don't know what they were playing now, but they were playing a really, really slow deck. And I had green added in, so I was pushing mana out. And they were pretty sure they was going to have me on the next couple turns. And I'm like, are you sure about that? They said, yeah. So I had these down. So the next turn I came up, he played a creature. I turn around and played this bad boy, Agent of Treachery. It's 5 and 2 blue, so he's a big cost. But again, when I had green in it, it came out pretty quick. And when Agent of Treachery enters the battlefield, gain control of target permanent. At the beginning of your end step, if you control 3 or more permanents, you don't own draw 3 cards. Now, I didn't get to that point past that, but I think you can see where this is going. So I got even if I only got one, I got Mirror March. Now it is dependent on a coin flip, and sometimes those coin flips suck. But when the coin flips work out, look out, because I had Agent Treachery. I flip a coin, won the coin toss, got another Agent of Treachery. That's 2 of his lands gone. The guy had 5 lands. Flip another coin, won it. Agent Treachery, got another land. And virtually, I ended up getting like 8 flips that worked before I lost. And that was just on the first card. So I stole all 5 of his lands, and I got his biggest creature. And then on the second one, I think I got 1 on it, and I got another creature, his next biggest creature. And then on next flip, I think I got 2, which he only had 4 creatures. And I think the last flip, I ended up getting the last 2 creatures. At that point, he has a clear board. And not only that, but I had 8, 9, 10, 11. I had 11 2/3s that have haste. It was a 20, we're playing 60 cards. So that's a game breaker. Because I got all of his lands, got all of his creatures. Even if I don't swing in, there's nothing he can do. I mean, he has no cards in hand. So this is a game. These are a 2-card combo that, yes, he ended up conceding on the spot, but that's not the point. But yeah, I mean, this is a very, very deadly combo, and you can still do it in Commander, but it's not as fun because it's harder to do.
I got nothing to add to that.
So then we're gonna go to Ned's next one, which is Feldar Sovereign.
Felder Sovereign. 4 colorless, 2 white. Vigilance lifelink. At the beginning of your upkeep, if you have 40 or more life, you win the game. In a game of Commander, you start with 40 life, and I have managed to drop this guy on turn 3. So unless you have a way to get him off the battlefield, that's pretty much an instant win. And because he's lifelink and vigilance, you can use him as an attacker and a blocker, and you'll get 4 life for each time he does damage. It's a fantastic card. I think the first time I ever saw it, you actually used it against me, and I had to invent new ways to handle creatures because that 6 toughness is a very tough pill to swallow.
Yeah, I know I had a Karloff Ghost Council life gain deck, and this card has won me so many games with that just because of what he does. And again, like you said, it was a life gain deck, so the whole purpose was to have. I had about, 6 or 7 win conditions in that deck, I think.
I believe.
And he was one of them all by himself. And the whole deck was premised on cheap stuff that just gains me crap loads and crap loads of life. So I've actually played to the end, but when they don't have an answer for him, in a life gain deck especially, he doesn't have a very good answer if you can't get rid of him. Oh, you're going to hit me for, let's say, 20 life? Well, I'm at 60 life, so I'm still going to be at 40 at the beginning of my next turn. That's game. Yeah, it's. I know you've pulled it off. I've pulled it off. It is just it's kind of an out of nowhere win right there.
It's a great and terrible thing.
So the next card we're going to go into is called Bolas's Citadel. They've renamed it to Hunter of Agents or something like that. But anyway, I don't know why they changed the name to some of these cards. It makes no sense to me. But it's 3 and 3 black, and this is a game breaker in a different way than what we have been talking about. But you may look, it's an artifact, so it goes on the battlefield. You may look at the top card of your library anytime. You may play the top card of your library. If you cast a spell this way, pay life equal to its converted mana cost rather than pay its mana cost. And then you can tap it to sacrifice 10 non-land permanents. Each opponent loses 10 life. The beautiful thing about this is the fact it gives you major card advantage. And I think the new one that we looked at, it also says you can play lands from the top of your library too. That's the difference, and maybe that's why they renamed it. But think about that. You may play any card from the top of your library, and it will cost you life. You have 40 life in Magic. You get this out early, or even on tempo, I mean, you're looking at it and you're talking about a converted mana cost, and it costs you your life total. Um, the way it breaks the bank though is there's been several games that I've played. I have a friend named Jeff and a friend named Clint, and both of them, Ned played against both of them, and both of them have used a card to commit suicide versus losing to us. We're gonna lose our way. So they literally would start playing the cards off the top of the library till they lost because there's no way they saw a win coming from us. Or in Clint's case, he just wanted to get as much card advantage as he could, so he kept playing cards till he was down to 2 life. Um, and at that point, one shot, if we can do enough damage to him to end the game, I mean, it's over for him. So it is almost a break in the bank card because of the fact, oh, I don't want you beating me. I'm just going to commit suicide. Kamikaze!
Yes, it's incredibly dangerous, but it can also work in your favor because essentially you can cast everything in your deck as long as you have some amount of life.
It is a very, very fun and dangerous thing altogether. All right, let's get to your next one. My phone's starting to get to the point where it's hurting. So I don't know which one you want. You want this one first or the other one?
Yeah, we can talk about this one first. This
Okay.
is a 2 card combo. Filigree Sages. It's 3 colorless and 1 blue. 2/3 artifact creature. And then if you pay 2 colorless and a blue, you untap target artifact. Now, show the artifact. Chromatic Orrery. You may spend mana as though it were mana of any color, and you can tap it for 5 colorless. So you use the Chromatic Orrery to get 5 mana. You're only using 3 of it to activate the Filigree Sages. Untap your Chromatic Orrery. Now you have infinite mana. And there are a lot of different ways you can go with that. But the easiest thing to do is to just keep triggering your Chromatic Orrery, draw yourself out of cards, and win it with something like a Laboratory Maniac. Or I think one of the
Jace.
Jaces will let you win the game if you run out of cards as well. It's tremendous. It's very easy to run. I've pulled the Chromatic Orrery Filigree Sages a number of times in my decks, and yeah, you can essentially cast everything because you have infinite mana and you're drawing infinitely. So it's a beautiful thing. If you're going to have blue, I strongly suggest both of these cards because you get your whole deck on the table.
Really quickly. I'm running out of time on my recording. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to touch on my combo. I'm going to hit it kind of quickly because it's straight to the point anyway. And then we have one more combo. And then we have one more game breaker between us. Uh, Sanguine Bond is part of a 2 card combo, 3 and 2 black. Whenever you gain life, target opponent loses that much life. Not much else to say to that one. And then the other one is Exquisite Blood. It's 4 and a black. And whenever an opponent loses life, you gain that much life. That is a 2 card combo because basically you gain a life, you lose life, you gain life, you lose life, gain life, and it's an infinite combo.
Yeah, it's a wonderful loop, and you only need one of the things to happen, and it just keeps feeding into itself at that point, whether you triggered it by gaining life or by damaging the opponent.
Not much else to say to that one. So here's your last one.
Omniscience. 7 colorless, 3 blue. You may cast spells from hand without paying their mana cost. So you've already seen several things that we like to do, and Omniscience will let you essentially cast for free. And it's a very scary card, and again, it can break the game because you don't have to spend mana to do what you're trying to do anymore. It's It's kind of heavy on the mana cost, but there are ways to speed up your mana curve. And I've actually managed to play it on turn 5 in a game, and it changes the whole complexion once it's on the table.
I know the worst part for me is I know I try to remember to protect it. And I had a guy that I was playing against one time, and he said, I'll make a deal with you. I will not go after you if you let me play Omniscience too. And I said, fine. And so he plays. So he plays a card that copies my Omniscience, and then he turned around and played another card, which I didn't have any counters in my hand at the time, that could affect a non-creature card. And he turned around and destroyed my Omniscience, which pretty much gave him the game over me and knocked me out of the game. Very irritating. But Omniscience is such a game breaker, it's insane. And then my last one is going to go to Captivating Vampire. Um, on both sides of the board, he is a headache in multiple levels. Number one is the fact he's a 1 and 2 black. Other vampire creatures you control gets a 1/1. That's good, but what you want is the other one, which is tap 5 untapped vampires you control. Gain control of target creature. It becomes a vampire in addition to its other types. And it's a 2/2. Yeah, I've played a game of. I have a vampire deck. Ned has a vampire deck with Edgar Markov, which creates numerous vampires real easily. But I was playing a 4-player game. I got this card out like on turn 3. I was able to play vampires turn 1, turn 2. Everybody else was getting their first creature out, so pretty much as they were throwing their creatures out, I was tapping for 5 and stealing their commander basically. And then the next guy would play, get his commander down, and another guy would play, and then it would come back to my turn, and at that point, the other guy couldn't play his commander. When I untapped, I was able to steal another guy's commander. And I mean, at that point, they all pretty much conceded because they knew that they couldn't get rid of them, so it was pretty much game.
Yeah, the captivating vampire essentially, again, feeds itself because after you steal the creature, it turns into a vampire. So you can tap that to help you steal the next thing. It's absolutely obnoxious, and I know when you and I play, it's a race to see who gets their captivating vampire first, and it's a concession on the spot from the other player.
Absolutely. I think that's the worst part is it feels like whenever we play these decks against each other, yeah, you seem to get him a lot more than I do. Not that I don't get him, but I know there's one. The best part was the one time that you actually got him out. I got mine played first. You played yours, and then you went to steal my thing. I turned around and stole yours, but I had more creatures, so I was able to steal your other one, my back.
Yep.
So, yeah, that was really, really fun for me at that point, and you conceded, and I was kind of disappointed because I wanted more. But, yeah, it was just a fun time. Um, but that is our kind of breaking our bank type thing. Thank you for joining us, and you guys have good holidays and be blessed.